Hello hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, it's the second episode of becoming a product manager. I think the first episode was really awesome. Lot of people had asked your questions. So I think most of the common questions will be answered in this episode too. Like how can you become a product manager without any experience? And do you need an MBA? How you can prepare for product management interviews and some tips and tricks to get your first PM job or internship or to transition to a product management role. So let's get into our video. And today's chief guest is Naman Goyal, so who has been a product manager at Internshala before. He worked there for more than 3 years, and currently is working as a product manager at Tutsi. And yeah, it's very interesting to have him. Thanks a lot, Naman, for joining us. And if you can give a quick introduction about yourself to our audience, it would be awesome.
Sure. So, thanks, Manoj, first of all, for inviting me to your podcast. I think I saw the first episode and it was really interesting to see a lot of curious aspirants who were joining in, and they were asking a lot of questions. And I think as a product manager, you have to be very curious. So yeah, I think that is why I said yes for this podcast. So I'll just give a quick introduction about myself. So hi everyone, I'm Naman. I'm currently working as a product manager at Tutsi. I have recently joined them, and before that, I was working as a product manager at Internshala from last 3 years. And my journey has been very interesting. By education, I have done my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I did a lot of things in my college and all the other stuff. So I'll talk about it while we are discussing stuff. So yeah, I think this is my brief journey so far.
Perfect. Yeah, I think audience, if you have any questions, you can put in comments and we'll answer it. Like Naman will be able to answer you, or I can curate those questions and ask Naman afterwards and get your answers. So currently, I've curated a list of common questions which I'll be asking to Naman. So the first question is, what is product management according to you? So the definition of product management itself is a very broader topic. Like many people define it in a different way. So what is product management according to you?
Sure. So I think I would like to relate it with the kind of experiences I had in my college. So from that perspective, I would like to give it an answer, because I think the stuff which we see generally on internet, or or is spoken by a lot of other people, that is way too subjective, and I think that is way too bookish. So I don't want to answer in such a manner. My answer would be different. So in my college, as I mentioned, I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering. Alongside that, I did a lot of things. Like I went on to file 12 patents, and even participated in, I think, 50 plus competitions, which were at international and national levels. So I think while I was working on these projects, or in these initiatives, I found out that if you are a person who loves to solve problems, there are a lot of problems out there. You can pretty much solve any of them if I think three things matter. If you are able to dig deep into the problem and figure out where the root cause is. Second is, you are able to think how you can solve it, right? There could be multiple solutions, there could be a number of solutions for a particular problem. But if you are able to think how you can, solve this problem with a small solution, or with a just minimal solution, that is something which is really helpful. Then third is how you are able to execute it, right? So in my own terms, I think product management is nothing but a subjective things which I just talked about, and a accumulation of all these three things. So I think if you are looking for an answer as a college grad, so you should follow these three things. You should always dig deep into the root cause of a problem. You should figure out what kind of solution might solve this problem, right? And third is how you can quickly execute them. And if you want to execute it, you would have to, have a collaborative nature. Only then you can do it. So yeah, I think in simple terms, this is what I feel about product management.
Perfect. So it's more of like defining the problem, identifying the root cause, identifying the possible
Yeah,
solutions, and choosing the best or the efficient way to solve them.
correct.
Uh,
Yes, yeah.
and Perfect. And the second question I have is like, how did you discover product management, right? And why did you choose that? So this is a very common thing.
Sure.
Like during my days, also I also discovered it accidentally. Most of the
Hmm.
people, I think, from engineering background discover it accidentally, or when they participate,
Hmm.
or when they get more awareness, they discovered it. So just want to know your story.
Yeah.
How did you discover it, and why did you choose
Awesome.
that?
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So I think I would like you to give me some time on answering this question, because what I want to answer is about the journey which I had before college itself and even in the college. So by nature I'm very curious, and I love solving problems, even seeing how the problems are being solved. So I think while I was in my sixth standard of my college, so this innovation competition came up. It was organized by Government of India, so it is Ignite. I'm not sure if it's still there. So it's an initiative by National Innovation Foundation. So every year they conduct Ignite competition, and like while I was in sixth class, and a program used to come on Nickelodeon channel, which was related to all these people, those who participated in Ignite competition, and their innovations were getting rewarded, by a lot of different people. So at that time, it used to get rewarded by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. They used to call all the students, and those people used to meet him. So, anyways, he was my inspiration back then. So I thought that I would want to meet him one day. चलो फिर start करते हैं innovations करना. So went on to saw like figure out this problem of electricity in my home. So what used to happen was, whenever I used to go out of my room, right, I did not used to switch on, yeah, switch off, basically switch off the lights or the fans or anything while moving out, and I used to get scolded a lot, and it became my habit that मैं भूल जाता था और मैं just बाहर चले जाता था. So I thought, why not? There is a solution, right? अगर मैं room से बाहर जाता हूँ, so it should get switched off automatically, right? So that is something which I was thinking of. So at that time, I did not have much resources to explore or do anything, but I used to go into science exhibitions. So one day I found out that there was this person who was a student. So he was kind of blind student, right? So not blind, he was a differently able student. So उसने एक problem solve किया था कि whenever they used to enter into a classroom or something like that, and whenever someone would sit on a chair, the classroom lights would switch on automatically, and whenever they would move up from the chair, the classroom lights would switch off, right? So I used the kind of same principle, the kind of same senses, and I tried using them on a doormat. So in Indian households, we generally see that there is this tradition of removing, your footwear outside the room. So I thought कि उसी principle को use करता है, and we will use a doormat, and doormat के ऊपर whenever someone would place their shoes, right, the room lights would go on, and whenever we would remove those shoes, the room lights would go off. So ideally, I think I did not have much idea on how I could execute it back then, but I went on to submit my idea to Ignite competition. Unfortunately, it did not get shortlisted. But while I was presenting the similar idea in my school and everything, so I got really much appreciation about it, and even got certain awards. So used the kind of same concept, while working on one such project in college, which was solving the problem of students taking hands out of school and bus windows, right? A lot of accidents used to happen. So use the similar concept. Whenever someone would take their hand out of bus windows, an alarm would go off, which would get the conductor alerted, and conductor might stop that children from putting their hands out of the bus windows. So there were a lot of things which we did. I'm just talking about a very brief solution set, right? From that point onwards, I realized the power of solving different problems. When I pitched this project, and I participated in 10 plus competitions with this similar project. In the very first place, I only spent almost 80 rupees to build up this project. It was just a shoebox carved out in the form of a bus, and we just installed sensors, which were just very cheap. and we just spent almost 80 rupees to build this project, and we were able to win almost 20,000 rupees by participating in different competitions, right? So that thing came as a rewarding value addition to my thinking skills and everything, and helped me to stay focused on this path. So from that point onwards, I went on to file a patent, participated in different competitions, and while I was filing patents, I found out how a structure works, right? How you can prioritize, basically how you can figure out what is the root cause of this problem, right? And if you're thinking of different solutions, so and every problem could be solved by different solutions, as I mentioned earlier. So you had to see the solutions which were done worldwide, right? While you're doing the patent research and everything, and then you have to give it a structure and even mention how you would execute it, right? So from that activity, the skill set of this particular thing came up, and other than that, I think I started out a company along with a few friends of mine in college. It was in intellectual property rights again. We wanted to build awareness and even wanted to target school and college students because no such company was there. But we found out that they could not pay for it because the patent outcome is a really challenging process, or it's a really long process, right? And their parents had to pay at the end of the day. So it came as an issue, and we had to move out from that company. And that is when I realized, while I was in my last year of college, that I have kind of skill sets which are mostly suitable for a business analyst role, or a data analyst role, or a data scientist role. I wasn't aware about a product management as a career option back then, right? So I'm talking about 2019, late 2019, early 2020s, when I discovered. So, anyways, I started applying for a lot of roles and a lot of opportunities, and I saw this opening on Internshala, their career website, and found out the kind of job description which was posted there, right? So it was in the form of a Bob the Builder, wala cartoon, which we used to see in our childhood. So there were different characters. So I thought कि हाँ ये सब तो मैंने किया है कॉलेज में, राइट? मैंने इसके अलावा तो मुझे कुछ आता ही नहीं है. I have done all these things. I am an expert in all these things. So let's give it a shot. So things things went very smoothly there from that point onwards, and cleared all the rounds. There were, I think, 5+ rounds, in total, while I was interviewing at Internshala. And the day I stepped into the office and started working, right? So, I mean, it became a passion from that point onwards. Since then, I have been treating it as my passion only, and that is the and as a result you can see the kind of things which I'm doing in my professional career. Those are way far than everything else. So yeah, I think this is how I discovered it, and I think I'll keep on choosing it for a very long time.
Perfect. I think the way you explained, right? You did a lot of projects, and in that I saw a pattern that you build the MVP, right? Like minimum
Yeah,
viable product for 80 rupees. You
correct,
you won cash
correct.
prize. You got like
Yeah,
100x or more than that ROI, right? Out of that, and then you
right,
built a
right.
company where you got to know about the user and the business side, who
Hmm.
are paying the money, how it is,
Yeah.
and then you saw like you started exploring about similar roles that based on your pattern of skills
Hmm.
you had. And then you suddenly
Right.
find Internshala, which had the same, and then you found it. Yeah, it was a really interesting journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the next question I have is, like when you applied for Internshala, was it your first like directly an internship or directly a job, or you had done any other PM internships before that, like apart from the projects and the company you had built?
Sure. So I think I did not do much of the product management internships, as I mentioned earlier. I wasn't very much aware about this role as a career. Rather, what I was trying to do is I was very active in extracurricular activities, right? Alongside my academics, I used to participate in almost everything. because I wanted to get a hands-on experience and even built a name of myself in the college, so that I can be recalled for many years whenever I leave. So major focus was that only, and I chose certain campus ambassador internships, right, which particularly gave me a confidence of speaking in front of a lot of people and even basically selling stuff, right? So as a product manager, I think that quality is really important, where you are able to convince and even sell the stuff which you want the person who is in front of you to buy, right? Uh, in those terms, I think I did campus ambassador internships, and product management internship at Internshala was the first internship only which I got my hands on for the very first time. So yeah, from that point onwards, I completed the internship in 6 months. Right, then got a full time offer, became a product manager one. Then after 1 year, got promoted to product manager two. So yeah, I think that has been my journey so far.
Okay. So when did you apply for the internship role, right? So how was your interview experience? Like, what were the interview rounds? I think it was internship, so it could be easier compared to a full-time role. But if you can throw more light on what were the types of round, how did you prepare, or you did not prepare, you went and on spot you did it, or how was it? Just want to know more about that.
Sure. Sure. I think back then I had a lot of stuff, as I mentioned, to mention in my resume. And particularly for Internshala, I was very lucky that, the projects which I did, the patents which I filed, and the competitions, right, which were at international and national level, to say the names, like I participated in a competition held by UNESCO, right? Then there was Smart India Hackathon, and there were a lot of other competitions as well, by Times of India, Economic Times, and so on. So these things really add a credibility to my resume when I was, applying for the roles. And while applying for Internshala, the process was kind of similar to the full-time role for which they hire the APMs or PMs, right? So it was a five-step process. First step was resume shortlisting. Second was an assignment round, right? They would give you an assignment. You would have to uh, figure out, basically wear a lot of hats and figure out how you could execute it in the future as a product manager. Then there was the third round with the HR, which basically tests your cultural fitment and everything else. Then I had a round with the CTO of the company, which was basically on my thinking skills, analytical skills, and even the assignment, the tech part of it, and even the business part of it also. Then I had a last round with founder. Uh, at that time, uh, like Sarvesh used to interview all the candidates who were hiring, who were getting interviewed for product manager roles. So I got a chance to basically get interviewed by him in the fifth round, and it was kind of problem solving round, or problem solving, or a case study round. So from the interview point of view, if I would have to say, the process was kind of complex. For me as an intern, I hadn't, gave multiple interviews like this, which was spanned over multiple days. So it was kind of tough and a bit complex as well. But I think the resources which I used, right, those are basically things from YouTube. Like at that time, I think product folks wasn't there as a community. It did came into inception later on, and there were a lot of other communities which came afterwards. But around late 2019 or 2020, there were very less resources for these kind of roles. So I just saw a few videos over YouTube. It were Those were from foreign people only. So I used to basically prepare for one round at a time, right? And that is how I think I give the interviews.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think that was very clear. But as after you move from Internshala, right, you might have given multiple interviews at different companies. So if you can, like, give a quick summary of different types of rounds like case study, take home assignment, problem solving, etc., and give some examples of each round, and also tell any tips and tricks that you use to crack that round.
Sure. So I have already talked about the APM wala round, right? So generally, uh, let me talk about it in a different way now, or let me put it up in a different way. So I think mostly the interview rounds for entry level roles, right, till you are at a level 2 or level 3, remains almost similar, because as a product manager you have to own a lot of responsibilities and you have to wear a lot of hats. So generally, I think first round is always resume shortlisting, which is something anyone can crack by just formatting their resume in the form of an ATS friendly resume, and even creating it in the form of a star framework, right, where you are defining situation, task, the actual things which you did, the actions which you did, right, and the results. I think that is sufficient for you to crack the entry level PM roles. Then after that, I think you get assignment. So assignment is kind of there to test your product thinking skill sets and product design skill sets. So generally, it also tests your product execution skill sets on how you would want to execute it. So let's say one assignment which was given to me by a company was uh, build an in-flight food delivering mechanism, right? And so for that particular assignment, I had to do the complete research on, is there a market size of it, right? What is the market size of it? And who would be the target audience, who would be the target personas, then who are the competitors, right? And then defining what product features I can build out, or what are the gaps on which I can build out this project, and basically validating if there's a need or not, right? Then after you are done with this, I had to work on creating some wireframes on how I would want my product feature to work, right? It could be either in a form of a website or a mobile application. So that was there. And then defining the matrices, which I, as a product manager, would want to track, right? So for matrices, I generally use R framework. So R framework is something which really helps you to figure out where you want to track what kind of matrices. Basically, this framework is mostly suitable for those kind of products which are just entering into the market, right? Because it takes care of complete acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral, and so on. Then you have to define the go-to-market strategy. So generally, the product assignments revolve around these particular concepts, because these are testing your product management skills from A to Z. And even for entry-level roles, I think you should prepare accordingly. That you should be doing this stuff while you are into the role, and you would be tested on the similar concept. So I think this is how the assignment structure is followed. Then once you are done with assignment, right, after that, I think the third round is very different. For a lot of companies, uh, they would want to they would want you to talk about the assignments only, right? In some other companies, it's a kind of mixed round of assignment plus tech, right, where they would want to understand what tech you would build behind that assignment, behind that product which you are talking about. And the third type, which I found out, was the business and analytical skill sets, where it was kind of not related to assignment majorly, but it was talking about the kind of knowledge you have about the industry, right? So one such question which I can talk about is, let's say I was interviewing for a fintech company, right? So they talked about compare PhonePe and Paytm and give the complete differences, right? Uh, in both of them, from consumer standpoint of view and the company standpoint of view, and the future which holds in the fintech industry by both of the companies, right? Had to do a complete deep dive on that. So it was kind of on the business side of it. Then I think fourth round is again pretty much different. It depends on company to company. There, for APM roles, they might give you a case study, a business case study to solve. where they might test your again prioritization skills and even the business acumen, the analytical skills for level 1 or level 2 PM or a level 2 product manager. They might uh, give you some strategic questions, right? Where you as a product manager would have to lay down the complete strategy on how this product could be built out, right? Or how this product can help a company. So one example which I can give you is uh, why should Google enter into, let's say, delivery business, food delivery business, right? Or how should Google enter into food delivery business? So this is something which you have to wear a strategic hat while you're answering this question, and you have to basically analyze the complete industry, right? So as a product manager, I think these concepts literally are your day-to-day work, and they come uh, handy whenever you are doing some stuff in your real life. So yeah, I think these are there. Just let me know if I missed anything.
Yeah, I think it was a perfect answer. So, by the way, in case study, right, I also wanted to add a point like in-flight food delivery app, just on the context, right? So, when someone is doing the assignment, they also need to think of the business side too. So, if it's an in-flight food ordering app, they cannot have more SKUs or categories of food. They can have
Yeah,
only limited category of food and something like that. And if it's a flight journey, you also need to ask cross question. Okay, in flight, do you mean a shorter flight or a longer flight
hmm,
in terms of journey? You can ask the interviewer,
correct.
or you can assume whichever is. So let's say for a 2 hour flight, I cannot provide them lunch, dinner, etc. because I
Yeah,
need to maintain
yeah,
a lot of inventory. Like just adding
hmm,
points so that the audience can understand how to solve this case study. Yeah,
yeah,
and got it. And especially in the face-to-face round, right? After your case study is done, uh, it's not very standardized, by the way. Like in other careers like software development, it's very standardized, and you can even
hmm,
predict the question that you might get.
right, right, right.
So in product management, it's very kind of unpredictable. So recently, like there was an interview which I was giving, and
Hmm,
in that,
hmm.
the question was, you are building a shadi.com for widows.
Oh,
So
nice.
I was like shocked. Okay, I was
Hmm,
just stunned and how to answer this question. So especially
right.
when these rounds are unpredictable, how to get
Hmm.
prepared for this, right? How to like ace these kinds of rounds, right? Even just if you can give some tips and tricks on that.
Sure. I think very interesting question, I feel. So, so I think I can break down this question into two parts, right? So I think first part would be preparing for the rounds itself. So I think I think if you are getting interviewed as a product manager, right, you would get a lot of things which are not very much prepared beforehand while you are doing the actual job, and you will get a lot of things which must have a lot of uh, a complete plan of execution on how you want to do it. So I think in interviews they just generally test your thinking skills or the skill sets which you have in hand, right? So I think that generally comes from the experience only. If you are someone who is aiming for level 1 or level 2 product manager role, I think you can only develop those kind of skill sets if you have done the actual job in real life, right? So as you mentioned, you got a question on how you can build shadi.com for widows. So I think that is something which is just off the topic, and they just want to put you in a discomfort zone, not a comfort zone, but a discomfort zone where you can execute things, or where you can think about different things under a lot of pressure, right? So I think they are just testing your thinking skills there. So as far as people, those who are just preparing for the entry level roles, right, I would recommend them that they should do a lot of case studies on product design, product execution, and a lot of product thinking case studies, which you generally will find from a lot of resources. I think I have one resource which has almost 1500 plus questions. I found it from, I think, internet. So I'll share it with Manoj. Manoj can link it further in the description. So I think that is something which you can uh, choose the questions from, and then there are a lot of other resources as well. And one interesting thing which I would like to add is, once you have, let's say, done almost 10 to 15 case studies, you can make case studies on your own. Let's say I want to, let me think of a quick question. Um, mm, 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 mm.
So on that, I just want to add one more point. Like many product aspirants are the assumption that okay, if I'm attending a round of a fintech company, they would ask me a
Mhm.
product case study related to that. So in my case, the Shadi.com one was asked in a retail firm. So it was a retail tech firm, and they
Oh,
asked Shadi. So both have no
right.
relation, by the way. So this is also something
Correct.
that
Correct.
happens mostly. I'm not sure if it has happened to
Yeah.
you or not. So always go with the assumption, okay, I'm attending a edtech, so I would get something related to
Hmm.
edtech, like learning experience kind of, but you get something else which is not related to that, and
Yes.
that would put you in surprise and make you blank. Uh, because
Correct.
you'll be in a way assuming that I'll get this question, and suddenly you get something extraordinary, and you are like, oh, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that is the beauty of interviewing for product manager roles, where you don't expect something which you were expecting earlier, and it comes on your way, and you have to attempt it, right? So I think interviews generally like these people a lot, right? Who are able to figure out stuff at the moment, and they are able to convince the interviewers, right, with their skill sets. So I think you should prepare for it. Even the people, those who are just in the entry level roles, I think it's a really good thing which Manoj pointed it out, that you should be prepared for such instances, and you should not just stick to one industry. I think again, I would again like to add, this would only come from the practice. If you are just an aspirant or aiming for entry level roles, for people those who have certain experience and want to excel at interviews, they would have to use their real life scenarios or real life stuff which they did, and even practice is something which they can crack easily.
Perfect. Yeah, I think the next question is, what are the top skills that a company expect from a product manager or a entry level PM, or just like PM1 should have, like the top 5 skills, if you can say.
Sure. I think I would want to go on it one by one. So I think first is communication, right? In which you have to basically, as a product manager, you have to communicate a lot of stuff, right? It could be either verbally, it could be either in a written format. So I think communication is really important. Then the second is I think analytical skills, right? Where let's say if you are if you're building some stuff, right, and you just want to dig deep into the problem, and you want to figure out where exactly is the root cause, right? You would have to see a lot of data, and even you would have to figure out a lot of instances, right, where you would have to basically compare and prioritize one thing over the other, and even focus on the data side by side, right? And even when you have launched a project or launched a product in the market, you have to analyze a lot of data, right? So analytical skills are something which really comes as a upper hand for you as a product manager, and it is a very good skill set to have. Then I think third is product thinking, right? If you are able to think of different products which you can build, or basically, let's say your CEO told the product team that this is something which we want to build, right? How would you build it out? So I think that is something which only comes from the thinking skill sets or the product thinking mindset, which I think you can develop only, as I mentioned again, by attempting a lot of case studies, and then getting experience. Uh, then I think I have talked about three skill sets. Uh, 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 let me just think about some more. I think as a product manager, you don't need a major technical side of it. I think you don't have to know major technical aspects of the product, but you should be able to know about certain technical things, right, which are there. Like you should know how your product works at the front end, at the back end. At the back end, it could be either APIs, webhooks, databases, server, and a lot of stuff. At the front end, it could be about the if you are into website space, it could be either HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a lot of other things. I think from technical standpoint of view, you don't have to have any major technical skill as a product manager, but I think you should be just aware about it. Uh,
I think most of
yeah,
the
or
skills are overlapping. Let's say like GTM, right? GTM also comes under
Mhm.
product thinking. Like when you're launching a
Correct.
product, you
Yes,
should
yes.
not like launch it completely. You
Mhm.
should do a pilot release, test it, something like that, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I think
yeah,
the
yeah.
top three skills mostly are overlapping with other skills. Communication overlaps with team
Correct.
management or collaborating with teams, etc. Yeah, got
Yes,
it.
yes, yes.
And the next question I have is how does a how one can improve the skills, right? So that's very important. Like people talk about communication, many of them say, yeah, this is not, matlab, I'm already a good communicator, like that, right? So, but when you
Mhm.
go to a job, you feel that you are not, or when you get feedback on your first PRD or your first email that you write to
Mhm.
the stakeholders or a launch email that you are writing, you get to know that, right?
Mhm.
So how one can improve
Right.
those communication skills, product thinking skills? Like most of the product aspirants, the pain point they have, I feel, is they know कि यार empathy is a skill, communication is a skill,
Mhm.
product thinking is a skill,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
they think they are
Mhm.
good at it, or they are not able
Mhm.
to uh, learn or practice or improve those skills, right? Let's say if it's like
Right.
I want to improve my web development skills, right? It's very
Mhm.
straightforward. Like I would go
Yeah.
learn some languages, frameworks, and build a efficient product, like a
Correct.
website for front end, back
Yeah.
end, scalable back end. But for these,
Yeah.
it's very confusing, especially.
Mhm.
So what do like how one can practice and improve the skills?
Sure. I think first of all, regarding the communication, we talked about. So I think for me, which generally helped me in the career was posting content on, or basically just creating a journal of my own, right? I used to maintain a journal when I was in my internship, and I used to write a lot of stuff there, right? I used to basically rate myself amongst all the product manager skill sets, which I just talked about, and I every day used to think how could I improve, right? So I think first of all, maintaining a journal really helped me where I was lacking, and then I was able to channelize my energies on what kind of skill sets I should focus on, right? And how you can test that if you're lacking somewhere, I think that is again something which you can get an experience of only. Right? I think that is something which is really, really important, right? It could be either if you are in college, it could be either by participating in a lot of competitions which are just focused on testing your communication skill sets. It could be either let's say leading a team or launching certain events in the college or wherever you are. And then other thing could be participating in debate competitions and many more things, right? From there you can basically improve on your verbal and written communication. And then I think second thing is improving it on the go. Let's say if you are into an internship or a job, you could do a lot of stuff there, and you could basically do an introspection about all the skill sets which you have, and then keep on improving. I think third thing which really helped me was, as I mentioned, I was maintaining a journal, right? I used to write some stuff about my day over there. So I think that thing really helped me in basically creating a structure. I basically divided the writing about my day in 3 to 4 parts, and I used to basically write about all these things in that particular structure, right? That particularly made me very much uh, structured in writing all the communication related things. It could be either a PID or it could be either an email, a rollout email, right? And and I think even posting content on social media. Let's say you are posting content on LinkedIn. You can use LinkedIn as your platform to improve, right? You can just basically set a challenge for you. In the initial days, I used to put content every day for almost 10 to 15 days. I tried that, and it really helped me to figure out where I was lacking and even get the feedback on site, right? I think these are the points which can help you to improve your communication skill sets. And then there are other practices as well, which you could do either with your seniors or with your fellow colleagues, right? You could get a direct feedback from them where I am lacking and how should I improve. So I think communication tool you can improve this way. As far as other skill sets are concerned, I think product thinking is something which I again have mentioned about. Practice a lot of case studies. Even if you are a level one, level two product manager, think about a scenario of your own. As Manoj pointed out, the Shadi.com one. Think about these kind of scenarios, which will make you very discomfort, and which will give you a very discomfort and will make you go out of your comfort zone and even challenge your thinking skill sets. Right, that is something which, yeah, which can really help. And as far as analytical skills are concerned, I think that is something again which you can learn on the go. But if you want to improve on that, I think I would rather suggest you to basically look into the data of different businesses which is present online, right? Even you can just read business reports or the reports which are created by a lot of VC industries or the companies which invest in a lot of different companies, right? You could read those reports and figure out if this is something which is making sense or not. So I think, yeah, these are things which might help.
Perfect. I think it's more of just summarizing. It's about getting your hands dirty on things. So yeah,
Yes,
just
yeah.
wanted to add two more points. So one way you
Hmm.
can learn a lot is by attending PM interviews.
Correct.
I'll tell one quick story. I attended one PM interview where he was a senior PM. He was very good with me. He told, "Bhai, you are not going to get selected, but I'm going to give you a detailed feedback." So he was from my city, so he gave me a complete detailed feedback saying where I was lagging in
Hmm.
terms of the case study I wrote, where I need to improve, what skills I. So that was an eye opener for me. I was like, okay, these are the points I need to focus on. These are my weaker spots, right?
Yeah.
That I need to improve on. So that's something most people like think, okay, agar if I attend it and I fail, what would happen? You should fail.
Hmm.
Matlab, you as
Correct.
more you attend and fail, you learn a lot from that. Feel free to ask
Yeah.
feedback to the person who is
Hmm.
interviewing you. And second is, as you
Right.
told, building side projects will also improve. Like as you built a
Correct.
business where you had basically learned all the skills, right?
Yeah.
Communication, product
Hmm.
thinking, etc. So you can also solve a personal pain point if you have,
Yeah.
validate it
Yeah.
and solve it. By the way, yeah,
Correct.
perfect. And the next question is, how does a day in a life of a PM looks like, the product manager? So nowadays, this is a very common question. Like people need to know, okay, after I get a job, what will I do on a day-to-day basis, and where my time will go, right? And it's really subjective, by the way. It depends on the company you're going,
Yeah.
the stage at which it is going,
Right.
etc. So currently I work in a public company, right, which is being
Hmm.
listed and it's in a very
Correct.
established state. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it focus more on profitability, revenue. You might
Hmm.
work in a Series A, B startup, right, which is focusing
Yeah.
on growth, like market expansion, वगैरह. So if you can just throw light on that, like previously I had worked at Internshala. I think when you joined, it was early stage, no, or it was in a
Yes.
mid.
Correct. Yeah. So I think I'll talk about it. So, like at Internshala does have a sister platform called as Internshala Training. So I got a chance to work on that particular product. So I used to take care of the user acquisition and even the business growth side of it by the product, obviously. So I think in our team, as you mentioned, it's very subjective, right? It used to differentiate even inside the teams, right? Which were there at Internshala. Like so, there are multiple teams, right? One is which is taking care of the recruitment side of the business, which is Internshala as a platform. Over there, the team is divided into two parts further. One could be student side, other could be the employer side, right? On Internshala trainings, again, we had the user acquisition part where the team was working solely, and there was another team which was taking care of the complete learning experience, right? So every team had a different way to work together. And as a product manager, I think the day for every product manager in these different teams would be different, right? So you can understand from that aspect that for every product manager, I think a lot of things would make a play in deciding how your day would look like. But I think at Internshala, so what we used to do was, first of all, I think I personally used to look into a lot of data, right? I used to basically create certain dashboards, and certain dashboards were maintained, and even certain Google Sheets and stuff were there. I used to look into the data of all the product features which I shipped earlier, right, in the past, and how they are performing, and even analyzing the business metrics where they are currently standing, and what could be the opportunities which we can venture into, and then even further finding if something went wrong, right? Then, then I used to have daily stand-ups, with the engineering team and the even the design team in the past, where we as a product manager used to clear out all the roadblocks which these teams would be facing, and even then planning the day ahead. So that was something which we used to do. Then I think after that, the things were not fixed on a daily basis. One day I could be into a lot of meetings. If let's say I am into the product discovery stage where I'm figuring out what product could be built out. Other day I could be with the design team for 3 to 4 hours in a long meeting, right? Where we are figuring out on fixing the wireframes, figuring out what kind of UI UX stuff should go in the designs. Then another day I could be with my engineers, right? I could be basically giving them walkthroughs and doing basically understanding where the roadblocks are, and then even figuring out what kind of steps we have to take. Then I think it generally depends on the kind of level you are into, right? So let's say in the initial days, I was doing a lot of execution work, right, where all the goals were set and all the even output output metrics which were there, all those were set. But later on, when I started moving up, started getting senior roles, or started becoming a senior in the company, so my role kind of diversified into even thinking of product strategy, right, on how and which product we can easily build. So that is there. So now I think at Tutsi, the work is completely different, right? So it's a Series C company which is soon going to raise a Series D round. So here we are into the ops business as well. Like we have retail outlets, the operations part of it, and even the different channels we have. Sorry, different conversion points we have, websites and app, right? So I think a lot of stuff is different there, but generally certain points here and there can overlap in every product manager role. So I think it's very subjective. You can read about these experiences over internet and you will get a lot of insights.
Perfect. I think just to summarize, mainly focusing on how the metrics move, doing some research just to understand the user, business, like framing up the problem, doing some analysis
Yeah,
with data, working with engineers, designers, working with stakeholders, launching the product with the help of marketing team, collaborating with them.
correct.
So I think these are the major like summary points I identified from your conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the next question, this is a very common question, but most of the people want to know, okay, do I need an MBA to become a product manager?
Okay, I think again this is again very very subjective in nature. I mean, as a product manager, when I started out, right, I even did not know if I would need an MBA to do this role. So I think it's very subjective on the kind of role and the company you are aiming for, right? So let's say you are aiming for very early stage startups, or the startups uh, which are not investing on a lot of resources, which are on a very heavier side on their pockets, right? So they generally prefer hiring a lot of people, those who are straight out of college, and the opportunity cost is that they would train you as a product manager under senior leadership, and they would incur that cost because they want you to grow in the company and even want you to grow the company, side by side, right? So I think if you want to aim for, a bigger companies, and the companies uh, which are like a pedigree kind of companies. Over there, I think MBA generally matters, right? And MBA also helps you to give your candidature a preference over all the other candidates, because it might mean that you have invested in, upskilling yourself and even taking a step up in your career. So I think as a product manager, my point of view is that if you want to work as a product manager, first of all, you should work for at least 2 to 3 years in the industry straight out of college if you are able to crack the role. And then you should think of if doing an MBA would really help, right? So my personal point of view is this. And once you are done with 3 years of experience or 2 years of experience, you would be able to realize the value of MBA, right? Or doing MBA from different colleges, which are kind of pedigree colleges. So I think MBA, in other terms, would help you to add a value to your candidature. It might help you in your career in future, but not directly in your product management career. I think that is something which I have figured out. But let's say if you are aiming for doing MBAs online or via distance learning platforms, or I think there are a lot of other startups which have started coming into the MBA business. If you are thinking of doing MBAs from those kind of courses or from those kind of institutes, I think you should do your proper research before choosing any such courses, because the upside might not be that big which you must be expecting, right? And it might not add a value directly, and you would have to wait for a very long time.
Got it. Yeah, I think the next question I had is, do one need to know coding to become a PM? But you had already answered. You need to have a technical skills just to understand how
Yeah,
tech systems communicate between each other. A basics of SQL and basic Excel skill.
correct.
I think apart from that,
Yes, yeah,
one doesn't need to know to code. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that question is already answered. And the question I have is, any advice you want to give to product aspirants? Especially, I want to just break the question. So currently, if you see, right, compared, so just before that, I'm asking this question: how do you see the demand and supply in the product management industry today, especially in the APM PM1 space, compared to when you had started?
Sure. I think first of all, as far as the growth is concerned in the supply and demand thing, I think demand is rising at an exponential rate every year. Like back then when I started out, I knew very less product managers. It could be either because I was just entering into the industry, and there weren't such people, those who were PMs of my age or similar age. So I think the industry has grown a lot, and even different companies, right? They have started trusting a lot of fresh talent, which is straight out of college, right? Earlier, the product manager role was only limited to people those who have almost, let's say, 3 years or 4 years of experience. And still, there are such companies, right? Let's say Google is there. They don't generally hire entry level product managers, like they do have. This different program on which they hire PMs and train them, and that is a different thing altogether. But that came recently, inception only, right? But if we see such companies, right, they don't generally hire a lot of people which is coming straight out of college. So I think this is only because of the kind of things which you need as a product manager, and the kind of things which you need, skill sets which you need to execute while you are working as a product manager, right? So that is something which is uh, a complicated thing to develop and a complex thing to develop, and which might take you some time, right? But as far as I think supply is concerned, we see a lot of communities which have built up, and we see a lot of people across the product community who are helping one another, and even there are a lot of content creators who have started coming up, and who have started building out content, and they are just helping people, those who want to switch into product role. And I think you are amongst one of them. So I think I think people can focus on such content creators and even can learn from them. I would also recommend them to participate in a lot of product communities, right? And even do certain product meetups if you are able to do that. And I think, yeah, uh, as far as this is concerned, supply and demand is growing, and it would keep on growing as far as a product is concerned. And yeah, I think this is it.
Perfect. The last question is any particular resources, just breaking it down. One is to getting into learning about PM and preparing for PM interviews you have used. And the second part is any resource you are using it throughout your career for upskilling, right? Any books or any course you read on your day-to-day basis just to improve your skill sets or to upskill yourself as a PM.
Sure. So I think as far as the books are concerned, I think these books are highly recommended. One is Decode and Conquer, and then second is Cracking the Product Interviews, Cracking the PM Interviews. I think these are the two books which I generally prefer anytime I want to prepare for the interviews. Because as a product manager, you see a lot of content which is there, but that is not generally very structured, right? Although there are people those who are building up a kind of structured content and they are helping people for even free. But still, I think there are a lot of resources, right, over the internet, which are just spread across at different places, and that is not structured. So I think focusing on as a product manager, if you or as a product aspirant, if you want to prepare for interviews, focusing on a structured content and a structured learning process is something which is really important for you to understand the here and there's of the product interviews, right? So I think stay focused on these books first of all. Understand how the interviews are structured, what questions are asked, and you will find a lot of content related to these books over the internet. Practice that, and then I think other resources, if are concerned, uh, I think that would again depend on the kind of interview process you are going into, right? The kind of interview rounds you are going into. So I used to see a lot of videos of PM Diego. PM Diego channel is there. Then exponents case study attempts by a lot of industry PMs, and then there is this explainer series by PM School, which is something really nice, and it has talked about all the product management related frameworks, the interview frameworks basically, which are focused on the interviews, and those generally really helped me, to be honest. And I prepared a lot of case studies by just sticking to those frameworks and limiting my approach to those frameworks. So I think you can stay focused on these. If I would come across any other resource or something, I'll share it with Manoj, and Manoj can share it with the community further.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we had discussed a lot, and all the questions you had answered with examples and from taking example from your real journey, right? Like it was really interesting in terms of how you file patents, you built your startup, and thanks a lot for sharing your knowledge with the audience. And thanks for joining us in the podcast. And if you want to say anything to audience, like before we close the podcast, please go ahead.
Sure, sure. So thank you so much, Manoj, again for this opportunity. I really love to, interact with people like you and even all the people, those who are aspirants. So I think they can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. You might see the link popping up on the screen in a few seconds. And I think after that, the thing is, if you want to become a product manager, I think personally having a curiosity has really helped me, right? You should always stay curious about each and everything which is happening around you and around the community and even in the industry. And you should be aware about what all things are happening across the borders, across the nation, and even across the product management community. The first thing is that. Second is interaction and networking. Interact with a lot of people and network with a lot of product managers. Everyone is there to help you if you are able to know or if you are able to understand how you can approach that person, right? Don't just go to them and keep pinging them on a daily basis. Create a structured approach where you are lacking and what help you need from them, and how they could add a value to your your problems which you are facing, or the guidance which you need. I think that is something which would really help. Then I think third is, again, uh, don't limit yourself to one opportunity. You will get a lot of opportunities if you are upskilling and learning on a daily basis. And think of a bigger picture always. I think that is something which has really helped, even for your career and for everything which you are doing while you are working as a product manager. Think of always a bigger picture. That would really help you to grow a lot. So yeah, I think these are the points which I wanted to give. So yeah, thank you so much, Manoj. It was nice speaking with you, and I really love having a chat with you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, everyone, for watching this video. And do ask your questions in comments, and we'll answer all of them by replying to your comment, the answer of your question. And I'll also attach all the links in the description, including Naman's LinkedIn profile link. You can connect with him, DM your doubts directly to him if you want. Yeah, thanks a lot, and we'll meet you in the next podcast series. Join our WhatsApp community on becoming a PM, and also add your questions like which you want me to ask in the next upcoming interview. I've also attached the Google form for that. Thank you and have a nice day. Thanks, Naman. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.